What if I told you that the single most dangerous moment for your heart is not when you are running, not when you are working, not when you are under pressure at your job, but it is the quiet, peaceful, innocent moment when you close your eyes and go to sleep at night? What if the habits you have been doing every single night before bed, habits that feel completely harmless, habits that feel relaxing, habits that millions of people around this entire world are doing right now tonight, are actually silently attacking your heart while you sleep? What if your phone is not just keeping you awake? It is actually changing the electrical rhythm of your heartbeat without you even feeling it. What if that late night snack, that glass of wine to relax, that argument you had before closing your eyes? What if all of these things are creating a perfect, deadly storm inside your chest while you think you are simply resting? The truth is shocking. The science is real. And what you are about to hear in the next few minutes could literally be the difference between waking up tomorrow morning full of energy and never waking up at all. Stay with me. Every single second of this matters. What if everything you thought you knew about rest, recovery, and sleep was completely wrong? What if the habits you have been repeating every single night of your life, habits passed down from your parents, habits you never questioned, habits that feel as natural as breathing, are silently, invisibly, and dangerously destroying the most important muscle in your entire body? Your heart? I want you to stop for a moment right now. I want you to think about last night. What did you eat before you went to sleep? What were you feeling emotionally? Was your phone next to you? Did you have a drink to help you wind down? Did you go to sleep angry or worried or anxious about something in your life? Because here is what most people do not understand. Here is what no one ever tells you. Your heart never stops working. It beats approximately 100,000 times every single day. It pumps around 2,000 gallons of blood through your body without ever taking a break, without ever resting, without ever asking for anything in return. But your heart does have one window, one precious opportunity where it tries to repair itself, where it tries to reduce inflammation, where it tries to reset and prepare for another day of keeping you alive. And that window is your sleep. But what happens when you destroy that window? What happens when you turn that precious healing time into a period of stress, overwork, and damage for your heart? The consequences are not just tiredness the next morning. The consequences are not just feeling groggy or sluggish. The consequences are life-threatening. The consequences are heart attacks that happen silently during sleep. The consequences are irregular heartbeats that go undetected for years. The consequences are strokes that happen in the middle of the night to people who thought they were perfectly healthy. So let us talk about exactly what you need to stop doing before bed, because your heart is depending on you to hear this. The very first thing that is destroying your heart before bed is something so common, so normalized, so deeply embedded in our culture that most people will hear this and say, that cannot possibly be true. And that thing is eating a heavy meal late at night. Now, I am not talking about eating a small snack. I am not talking about having a piece of fruit or a handful of nuts. I am talking about the full dinner that many people eat at 9, 10, or even 11 o'clock at night. I am talking about the pizza, the pasta, the heavy proteins, the fried foods, the sugary desserts that people consume just 1 or 2 hours before they close their eyes. Here is what happens inside your body when you do this. When you eat a heavy meal, your digestive system immediately demands an enormous supply of blood to process and break down that food. Your body sends blood rushing to your stomach, your intestines, your digestive organs. But at the same time, your heart is now being asked to pump harder, faster, and more powerfully to meet this demand. Your blood sugar spikes dramatically. Your insulin levels surge. Your triglycerides, which are the fats in your blood, rise rapidly. And all of this is happening at exactly the moment when your body is supposed to be slowing down, when your heart rate is supposed to be dropping, when your blood pressure is supposed to be decreasing. Instead of healing, your heart is working overtime. Instead of recovering, it is being pushed into a state of metabolic stress that directly damages the inner lining of your arteries. And this inner lining, this delicate one-cell thick layer called the endothelium, is your first and most critical defense against heart disease, against plaque buildup, against arterial blockages. Every single night that you eat heavily before bed, you are chipping away at this protective layer. You are creating micro-injuries inside your arteries that accumulate over weeks, over months, over years, until one day a clot forms, a blockage develops, and your heart stops getting the blood it needs. The science behind this is not theoretical. Studies have shown that people who eat within 2 hours of sleep have significantly higher risks of heart attack. Research published in cardiovascular journals has demonstrated that nighttime eating is directly associated with increased arterial stiffness, which means your blood vessels lose their flexibility and their ability to handle the pressure of blood flowing through them. This is real. This is happening. And it is happening to millions of people who are completely unaware. But eating late at night is only the beginning. Because the second thing you are doing before bed that is quietly killing your heart is something that virtually every single person in the modern world is guilty of, and that is taking your phone to bed with you. Now, I want you to really hear this, because this is not just about the blue light keeping you awake. This goes far deeper than that. Every single electronic device you own, your smartphone, your tablet, your laptop, emits electromagnetic radiation. This radiation has been shown in multiple studies to interfere with your autonomic nervous system, which is the system that controls your heart rate, your blood pressure, your heart rhythm, all without you consciously thinking about it. When this system is disrupted, your heart does not get the signal to slow down properly. Your heart rate variability, which is one of the most important markers of cardiovascular health, becomes impaired. And when heart rate variability is impaired, your risk of sudden cardiac events increases dramatically. But there is something even more alarming about your phone that most people have never been told. The simple act of scrolling through social media, reading news headlines, watching videos, or even checking your email before bed activates your brain's stress response system. It triggers the release of cortisol, which is your primary stress hormone. And here is why cortisol is so dangerous for your heart at nighttime. During sleep, your cortisol levels are supposed to drop to their absolute lowest point. This low cortisol environment is essential for your heart to enter its healing phase. But when cortisol spikes at night, it causes your blood pressure to rise. It causes inflammation to increase throughout your cardiovascular system. It causes your blood to become more prone to clotting, and it keeps your heart beating faster and harder than it should be during sleep. What this means in practical terms is terrifying. People who regularly use their phones before bed are essentially giving themselves the cardiovascular equivalent of a low-grade stress response every single night. Night after night, week after week, year after year, this chronic nighttime cortisol exposure accelerates the aging of your cardiovascular system, hardens your arteries, and sets the stage for heart disease that can appear suddenly and without warning. And speaking of stress, let us talk about the third thing you need to stop doing before bed immediately, and that is going to sleep angry, worried, or emotionally activated. This is something our grandparents actually understood intuitively. There is an old piece of wisdom that says never go to bed angry. And while people think of this as relationship advice, it is actually some of the most profound cardiovascular advice you will ever receive. When you go to bed in a state of emotional distress, your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight system, remains in a heightened state of activation. Your body is flooded with adrenaline and noradrenaline. These are powerful stimulants that increase your heart rate, raise your blood pressure, cause your coronary arteries to constrict, and promote the aggregation of platelets in your blood, meaning your blood becomes stickier and more likely to form dangerous clots. Research from some of the world's leading cardiovascular institutions has found that emotional distress before sleep is one of the strongest predictors of nighttime cardiac events. In fact, studies have shown that heart attacks are most common in the early morning hours, and one of the primary reasons for this is that people who go to sleep stressed or angry experience sustained elevations in cardiovascular stress markers throughout the entire night. The body never fully enters the parasympathetic, or rest and digest, state that the heart absolutely needs for repair and recovery. What you feel emotionally is not just in your head. It is in your heart. It is in your arteries. It is in your blood. Emotional pain and emotional stress translate directly into physical cardiovascular damage. And the nighttime hours are when this damage accumulates most aggressively because you are lying still, you are unaware, and you have no way to burn off the stress hormones that are surging through your system. Now let us talk about something that many people consider a healthy nighttime habit, something that millions of people do to relax after a long and difficult day. And that is having a glass of wine, a beer, or any form of alcohol before bed. The alcohol industry has spent billions of dollars creating the impression that a nighttime drink is harmless, even beneficial. You have heard the claims about red wine and heart health. You have been told that a drink helps you relax and sleep better. And in a very short-term, superficial way, alcohol does make you feel sleepy and relaxed initially. But what happens inside your heart and your cardiovascular system after that initial feeling fades is something that should make every person reconsider this habit immediately. Alcohol is a cardiac toxin. This is not an opinion. This is established, peer-reviewed, universally accepted medical fact. When alcohol enters your bloodstream, it disrupts the electrical conduction system of your heart. It causes the chambers of your heart to contract in an irregular, uncoordinated pattern. This condition is called atrial fibrillation, and it is one of the most common causes of stroke. People who drink alcohol before bed significantly increase their risk of experiencing episodes of atrial fibrillation during sleep, and many of these episodes go completely undetected because the person is asleep and feels nothing. Beyond atrial fibrillation, alcohol causes your blood vessels to dilate and then rebound, creating dramatic fluctuations in blood pressure throughout the night. It suppresses the deepest, most restorative stages of sleep, which are the stages during which your heart does most of its repair work. It lowers your blood oxygen levels, which places additional strain on your heart. And it dehydrates you, which causes your blood to thicken and become more prone to dangerous clotting. The research on this topic is absolutely unambiguous. A major study published in the European Heart Journal found that even moderate alcohol consumption before sleep was associated with significantly increased markers of cardiovascular inflammation and endothelial damage. There is no safe amount of alcohol before bed for your heart. None. And the people who feel fine every morning after drinking have not escaped the damage. They simply have not yet seen the consequences accumulate to the point of a visible crisis. And this brings me to the fifth critical thing you must stop doing before bed, and that is neglecting your hydration. Now this one surprises people, because most people think about staying hydrated during the day, during exercise, during physical activity. But nighttime dehydration is one of the most underappreciated cardiovascular risks in existence. Here is the physiology. When you sleep, you lose water continuously through respiration, through perspiration, through normal metabolic processes. If you go to bed already slightly dehydrated, by the early morning hours your blood will have thickened considerably. Thicker blood is harder for your heart to pump. Thicker blood is more likely to form clots. Thicker blood creates higher viscosity, which means your heart must generate more pressure to push blood through your vessels. This is why so many heart attacks and strokes occur in the early morning hours, between 3 and 8 in the morning. The blood has had the entire night to thicken, and the heart is struggling to maintain circulation. But at the same time, many people make the mistake of drinking large amounts of water right before bed, which creates a different problem by disrupting sleep with frequent bathroom visits and stressing the kidneys and cardiovascular system with sudden fluid shifts. The solution is consistent, moderate hydration throughout the evening, stopping about an hour before sleep so that your body enters the night in a properly hydrated state without being flooded with excess fluid. And the sixth and final thing you absolutely must stop doing before bed is something that seems completely irrelevant to heart health on the surface, and that is the position in which you sleep, combined with the quality of your sleep environment. Most people have never been told that sleeping in certain positions can directly stress the heart, particularly if there are any underlying cardiovascular vulnerabilities. Sleeping flat on your back, especially in people who are overweight or who have any tendency towards sleep apnea, allows the soft tissues of the throat to collapse and obstruct the airway repeatedly throughout the night. Each time this obstruction occurs, your oxygen levels drop. Each time your oxygen drops, your heart responds with a surge of stress hormones and an acceleration of heart rate to compensate. Each of these microevents, which can happen dozens or even hundreds of times per night in people with undiagnosed sleep apnea, is a tiny cardiovascular crisis. And the cumulative effect of thousands of these tiny crises over years is profound and devastating damage to the heart and arteries. Additionally, sleeping in a room that is too warm prevents your body from achieving the core temperature drop that is essential for deep, restorative sleep. Your heart rate cannot slow to its optimal recovery rate, your blood pressure cannot decrease to its lowest nighttime point, and your cardiovascular system cannot enter the deep repair state that determines how long and how well your heart will serve you. So what does all of this mean? What does it mean for you, sitting here right now, listening to this? It means that every single night of your life is either an investment in your cardiovascular health or a withdrawal from it. It means that the small, seemingly insignificant choices you make in those final 2 or 3 hours before you close your eyes are among the most powerful determinants of how long you live and how healthy your heart remains throughout your life. It means that your heart, that extraordinary, tireless, faithful muscle that has been beating for every single second of your existence without ever asking for recognition or reward, deserves your protection. It deserves your attention. It deserves the simple, profound act of giving it the conditions it needs to heal itself every single night. Stop eating heavy meals within 2 to 3 hours of sleep. Remove your phone from your bedroom, or at minimum, stop using it at least 1 hour before bed. Resolve your emotional conflicts before you close your eyes, or at least create a conscious transition ritual that calms your nervous system. Eliminate alcohol from your nighttime routine entirely. Hydrate consistently throughout the evening. Sleep in a position that supports your breathing and creates the right thermal environment for deep cardiovascular recovery. These are not complicated interventions. They do not require medication. They do not require expensive equipment. They require only awareness and commitment. They require only the decision to treat your heart as the extraordinary gift that it is, rather than taking for granted the incredible work it does for you every moment of every day and every night. Your heart is speaking to you. The question is whether you are listening. Every night is a new opportunity. Every night is a chance to give your heart what it needs. Start tonight. Not next week, not after the holidays, not when things are less busy. Tonight. Because your heart has been showing up for you every single day of your life, and it is time for you to show up for it.